Aloha, everyone. My name is Rob Hack from the Hawaii Pacific Export Council, often called HPEC. And HPEC is a nonprofit based in Honolulu, and we are very closely affiliated with the U.S. Department of Commerce. All of our board members, which there are about 35 now, are vetted by the Commerce Department and appointed for 3-year terms that can be renewed. And we have the mission to help companies in Hawaii and the Pacific Islands export. And by export, we need to be very clear that this is to a foreign country. It is not to the mainland. It is not to Guam or Saipan or American Samoa. It's a completely non-American countries such as Canada, Japan, Korea, Germany, Brazil, and the like. So we are able to put on this series of seminars and perform company mentoring sessions because we receive a grant from DBEDT, who in turn receives a grant from SBA. That's called the State Trade Expansion Program, or STEP grant. And we're very thankful for that grant. And it helps us train many companies each year in Hawaii and help them either expand their existing exporting opportunities or start exporting for the very first time. So again, we'd like to thank DBEDT and SBA for the HiSTEP grant that we received. Now with that, I'd like to bring up and show you the agenda for today. Up here, you see a QR code. If you scan that code, that will take you to a Dropbox folder where you will find this agenda, but also the presentations today in PDF form. And you can see we have these various presentations coming up. I will, after this meeting, which is being recorded, I will also send around a link to this Dropbox folder so that you can look at these presentations and at your own leisure, as well as a link to the YouTube video that I will edit slightly and upload to our YouTube archive. So one quick share again, I'd like to show you our YouTube archive here. This is the archive I just mentioned of the Hawaii Pacific Export Council. If you go to YouTube and just use our name at HPEC or search for Hawaii Pacific Export Council, you'll see a list of 94 videos now of various topics of these webinars that we've recorded over the past several years and uploaded here. They can be country specific, such as exporting to Canada, or it could be legal issues and contracts and intellectual property protection. We've done island specific webinars and seminars about, say, for example, exporting from Kauai, exporting from Maui. And I think that there's a wealth of knowledge here if you can spend some time and look through our archive there. Our next speaker is going to be Jamie Lum from DBEDT, and she's going to talk about the HiSTEP program in general. But before she does that, I just wanted to show what the area that she's going to talk about on the website. If you go to invest.hawaii.gov, look at exporting programs, and click here on the HiSTEP, you'll see everything that HiSTEP has to offer here. And I'd like to congratulate Jamie and the DBEDT group on redoing their website. It looks really nice. Okay, with that, I'd like to introduce Jamie Lum. She's going to give a general introduction about the HiSTEP program in general. Welcome, Jamie.
Mahalo, Rob, and aloha to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Okay. Slide. Thank you. Again, as Rob said, I'm Jamie Lum with DBEDT, and we are the agency, the state agency that administers our STEP program, which Rob has already told you, the State Trade Expansion Program that's funded by the SBA. Sorry. Slide to advance. Thank you. So we are grateful to the SBA for the funds that we received to put on this export development program. We have put together a very comprehensive program along with all of our partner organizations. You'll see the logos on the slide there. Of course, SBA being our funding partner, and then we do work with Rob and the Hawaii Pacific Export Council. Of course, our U.S. commercial service person here, John Holman, as well as the other resource partners we have listed here to help our companies that are interested in exporting. And as Rob already mentioned, the Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program, or HiSTEP as we have promoted it, is available to companies that are new to export or those that are already exporting and looking to expand in some way. What we are trying to help our Hawaii companies that have Hawaii-made products or Hawaii services to be able to sell in the worldwide market. What we are hoping to achieve through the HiSTEP program is that we want to see the dollar amount of exports that are going out of Hawaii to increase. We want to see a larger number of our Hawaii companies being able to sell their products and services in international markets. And then we would like to also see more of the international markets being penetrated with our Hawaii services. So those are the metrics that we're hoping to achieve through our HiSTEP program. Eligibility requirements for HiSTEP and for being part of STEP is that companies have to meet the federal definition or the SBA's definition of a small business. You have to be in business for at least a year. You have to certify that you have sufficient financial resources to be able to support your exporting activities. And then you have to have a product or a service that is at least 51%, that is US made or at least 51% value added in the US. For Hawaii companies, we have additional requirements that you be registered with our Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, as well as our Department of Taxation. So those are really the minimal requirements to be part of HiSTEP. And I'll just briefly talk about the three components of our HiSTEP program. The first is our export readiness program. And thanks to Rob, he actually covered much of that already, because we do work with HPEC to put on these monthly seminars, which, this is one of them, to be able to give companies information about what it takes to export. And as Rob mentioned, the topics range from export specific issues like export financing, what's being discussed today, as well as market exploration, exporting to, I think this year we're looking at doing one to South Korea, and we've done many markets over the years: Mexico, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, of course, which so many of our companies are interested in. So we put these on monthly with Rob's help with HPEC, and then we also, when companies register for HiSTEP, we assign you to one of our partner organizations, the ones that I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks. And we help to facilitate a business advising session between the company and one of our partners, so that they can talk a little bit about, what kind of experience the company already has, or if they don't, what are their export goals, et cetera, and help to guide the companies a little bit, and also look at some of the activities that we have within HiSTEP that maybe these companies might want to engage in. So that's part of our export readiness program. Secondly, we have what we call our Go Global. These are actual either trade shows or consumer shows that we help to organize, either DBED. We also work with the Hawaii Department of Agriculture that also does trade shows, and we organize Hawaii pavilions where we HiSTEP subsidizes the majority of the costs for, say, the trade show, and then we will recruit Hawaii companies to be part of our these pavilions, and this gives our companies an opportunity to participate in these very large trade shows that, if they went in on their own, would cost several thousands of dollars. So we try to make it affordable for our small businesses to be able to be part of this activity. And a lot of it also is being part of the Hawaii Pavilion and being under the Hawaii brand. And companies have found that that's also a very powerful way to promote themselves and to attract buyers and distributors, being part of this Hawaii Pavilion. Also part of our Go Global is giving companies opportunities to conduct sales on e-commerce platforms. So we have more to come on that particular side of things. And then lastly is our company assistance, where companies can apply for direct financial assistance. This is done on an annual basis, and these are open, again, we have it in two categories: new to export companies and then market expansion companies. And these funds can be used to help you support the activities that you have part of your export plan, whether it's to go to a trade show, and it doesn't have to be a trade show that is part of the Go Global. It can be another trade show that you feel is suitable for your company and your product or service. So it helps to support that type of activity. Airfare, if you're doing any sort of translation of your website or your marketing materials, it pays for that. It can help you with an international marketing campaign, designing a campaign, including digital marketing. And then you'll hear from the EXIM Bank today. And if you used their services and any type of fee that might be involved in that, HiSTEP can also reimburse you for those types of things, or for U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. commercial service programs like Gold Key Service. So just an example of the kinds of expenses that the HiSTEP company assistance can help to support. And I'll just mention, as Rob said, that my presentation will be available to everyone that attends. The slides that I sent to Rob are actually much more detailed than what I'm going through right now. I'm just doing a real brief overview of HiSTEP. So you can, so you'll have those slides, but you can also go to our website, which Rob already mentioned, invest.hawaii.gov, and we just did do a refresh on our website. So if you've been to it, if you've been to our website before, visit us now. So, but where to start, if you're interested in HiSTEP, is to fill out a registration form online, and this gets you into our system, as I say, and then we'll start from there. We'll assign you to one of our partners, and you can have your business advising session, and then you can take a look at all the other activities that we have planned. This is just sort of a depiction of the process. You would submit your registration form, then you would have a business advising session, and then you can sign up separately. And if you go to, if you're interested in a trade show or the company assistance, these are all separate applications, so you will have to fill out another registration form if you're interested in a specific trade show, for instance. But this is how you start, and that's really a quick overview. Again, go to our website for the details, but here's my contact information if you have any questions. You can always also go through Rob. He knows how to get in touch with me as well. So I appreciate your time this afternoon, and all of you attending. And again, thank you. Aloha.
Well, hello, Jamie. Excellent presentation. Thank you so much. While I'm getting ready to introduce our next speaker, Mary Dale from the SBA office in Honolulu, I just thought I'd bring up the SBA website here and show people where you can find some more information about the Small Business Administration and the Office of International Trade. And with that, I'd like to say hello to our longtime friend, Mary Dale. And she, as I alluded to, is a representative of SBA in Honolulu, and we've been working with her for several years now, and she has a lot of connections to the local community, companies that are trying to export, and banks and what have you. So I thought it would be very important to have Mary on here to say hello and establish some contact with the attendees. So Mary, please.
Thanks, Rob. Hopefully you guys can hear me because I think the mic is a little distant.
We can hear you very clearly. Sounds great.
So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the District International Trade Officer in the local office. Here, we're right in Restaurant Row, Waterfront Plaza, whatever you want to call it these days. And if you're looking to, after this session is over, to classes, either if it's on exporting or if it's just on general business classes. We host some in our office, in our training room. You can check our website, the sba.gov/HI for Hawaii, for the local ones. And then there's some that we do with some of our partners out at Kapolei on different topics. We have one that's coming up soon, the next week, on business planning and including in that business plan your export plan for that. That's going to be next Wednesday, and it's hands-on. All the workshops that we do are free. If you have questions about just starting a business in general, then you can call the district office or stop by. We're usually there 5 days a week in the office. We can sit down with you, go over what your needs are for exporting. We are currently working on putting some programs together for exporting/trade for manufacturers. So that's going to be coming your direction pretty soon. And once we get that in order, we will get that information out to our partners with HPEC, with Jamie's folks over at DBEDT, and get that to you as small businesses, along with some of our resource partners, our Small Business Development Center, our Women's Business Center, which is the Patsy Teaming Center, and our Veteran Business Outreach Center. All those resource partners have someone that works directly with you that is certified export counselors as well. So that's there, that's available. Like Rob said, just kind of invited me on to know that there's a local person here that'll be in Hawaii that's always here that can help you afterwards. John's going to be here from our International Trade Office. You can always follow up with him on some questions that you have, topics he's going to cover. But if you cannot get a hold of them because of the time difference, other thing, or you want to come in and just speak with us, feel free to give me a call. So thanks,
Mary, how can people on the neighbor islands get in touch with you the easiest if they're not able to get to Honolulu often?
Sure. They could just email me at mary.dale, that's DALE, at sba.gov, or they can call our office directly, 808-541-2990. And we definitely want to talk to those on the neighbor islands that are out there. And when we have travel funds available, we do try to go out to the neighbor islands. One of the things we're trying to do now is meet with local lenders to make sure they're aware of the programs and have them get on board. So what John's going to cover today, and then make sure there's lenders that are available to follow up and be able to handle those loans.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And by the way, on the agenda that'll be in the shared folder, there's hot links on that agenda that link to SBA offices or EXIM offices, DBEDT, what have you. So it's very easy to find Mary and John and Mitsu and others. Okay, with that, I'd like to move to our next speakers, John Brislin. He's based in Seattle, so we thank him for joining us long distance. And John is new to, well, kind of new to working with Hawaii. You can explain it, John, how long you've been doing this, and we'd love to hear your talk and your expertise about what SBA is doing on international finance. And we do know that there are some local banks that are coming online with this capability soon. So please stay in touch. I think within the next quarter, we should have some good news about that. So John Brislin, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Aloha. Yeah, I'm John Brislin. Again, I'm with, and actually, you showed the website. You kind of caught me, Rob, because again, we've been rebranded to the SBA Office of Manufacturing and Trade. However, they've yet to update the website, so it's kind of embarrassing. Nor do have they given us our new formal job title. So with this new initiative, the Made in America Manufacturing Initiative, there's two things. One is they rebranded us. So our focus is going to be not only on working with export companies, but particularly helping manufacturing companies to export. And we also are promoting the use of our working capital pilot program, which I'll be speaking to in a minute. So again, let's start. So I just want to show you, so there's a kind of an umbrella of loan programs within the SBA 7A program. The loans on the right-hand side, the 7A, the Express, the Capline, and microloans are purely domestic programs. Then we have on the export side, we've developed parallel programs, the International Trade Loan, Export Express, and Export Working Capital Program. But what we did, we launched a new program on August 1st, the Working Capital Pilot Program, which can be used for both domestic and international purposes. So again, we're trying to meet the businesses where they are. So first, let me speak about the 7A Working Capital Pilot Program, or what we refer to as WCP. So again, first, let's speak what is working capital and speak about the working capital cycle. So again, your working capital is basically your liquidity, your short-term cash and assets you have on hand to be able to fulfill orders. So it's basically your current assets minus your current liabilities. And the working capital cycle starts when you receive your order from your domestic or foreign buyer through advances against your line from your bank to purchase raw materials, to assemble the order, to ship the goods or provide the services, then invoice, then receive your payment, pay the bank down. So again, this is that recycling current working capital cycle. So again, the most important thing to you is how does the payment method affect your ability to fulfill the sales? So you're the seller in this transaction. I'll refer to you as David, and you have a buyer who's buying from you, and they're usually Goliath. They're usually a much larger company or perhaps a government. So very often you're in a situation where your buyer wants to pay on open account terms. However, because the sale's large, your suppliers are requiring cash in advance. So again, the question you have to look at is when will you have to remit payment to your suppliers versus when you receive payment from your buyers. And that's what we refer to as that trade finance gap, which is on the bottom on the dotted lines. So again, we've launched this new working capital pilot program. And again, it's our first new loan program since 2010. And again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to meet small businesses where they are, not where we want them to be. So again, we can provide support for businesses who sell goods and services domestically, businesses who sell goods and services internationally, meaning exporting, but it can also support businesses who buy goods and services internationally, importing, because again, we found that the companies we're working with, a huge portion of them, they may be exported 10 to 20% of their goods, but they were doing domestic sales as well, and they were importing some components to produce their products. So again, this loan program can solve all those needs. So again, it's a maximum loan amount of up to $5 million. And again, it can support those domestic transactions and international transactions, including exports and imports, all under one loan product. And again, the term of the loan can be up to 60 months. Typically, lenders are issuing these things for 12 months, and then they refinance it for up to 60 months. And after that, they can reissue another loan for another 60 months. And again, any 7A lender, including our community advantage lenders, can provide a working capital loan under general processing. So I'm working with both Mary, Dale, and Mel at the Hawaii District Office to basically work with the lenders and bring them on board for this program. Again, what we're looking for as a company requirement is we're looking for a business that is been in business has 12 months of operations prior to filing an application, or if it's a business acquisition, the acquiring borrower has a history of 12 months of operations prior to file an application, as well as the ability to produce timely and accurate financial statements, accounts receivable, accounts payable, aging, and inventory reports. And if they need help on that, certainly the SBA Resource Partner Networks, the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, Women's Business Center, and VBOX can help them with that. With respect to that 12 months of operations, we actually have the ability to grant waivers if the principals in the company have previous experience. So we can do that. And again, we're looking for lenders that can have operational controls to monitor these loans, as well as they can do full credit analysis. So again, we're doing outreach to the lender community as we're doing outreach to the business community as we're doing today. So again, the uses of the proceeds, which I think is very compelling for the audience, is first is we can offer pre-shipment financing. So again, we can support qualified project or transaction by funding the direct related cost prior to shipment using our transaction-based loan structure, which we can finance. A lender can finance you against a purchase order, contract, or invoice. We can also do government contract financing. So again, it's working capital, pre-shipment, to support businesses selling to local, state, and federal governments, again, using that transaction-based loan structure against those contracts. We can also do an asset-based loan structure where the lender is advancing you against your borrowing base, meaning your inventory, accounts receivable, under the asset-based loan structure. And again, post-shipment, we can use both the transaction-based and asset-based loan structure. So again, 4 different options. And again, it can also be used for the support of issuing performance standby letters of credit, including bid bonds, performance bonds, or advanced payment guarantees, which are typically done when you're selling to government entities internationally or possibly domestically. And again, we can also debt refinance against existing working capital loans as well. So again, I'll drill into the transaction-based structure. Again, it's where the lender advances you funds against that purchase order, invoice, or contract. And the transaction-based loans, they don't use borrowing-based certificates, but they create a cash control account where they administer the loan and they track the payments coming in. It can be set up for a single transaction, or it can be set up for multiple transactions over the term of the loan. It can be set up as a revolving or non-revolving basis based upon the needs of the loan. So most often I'm seeing revolving and multiple transactions because businesses need these lines of credit to be able to fulfill upcoming orders. And again, the monitor pre-shipment financing allows your business to purchase the materials, components, and services and other related expenses necessary to start a project. And again, I spoke about the cash control account previously. And again, the advance rates is the lesser of 85% of the purchase order, contract, or transaction value, or 100% of the borrower's direct cost. So in this scenario, we have an example of $1 million purchase order. In the first case, 100% of the borrower's direct cost is $600,000. 85% of the contract value is $850,000. So again, in this case, the bank advances the lesser of the two, the $600,000. In the second scenario, again, that same $1 million purchase order, where the 100% of the borrower's direct cost is $900,000, and 85% of the contract value is $850,000. So again, remember, the lender is going to advance you the less of two, which is $850,000. But again, this is pre-shipment financing to allow you to be able to fulfill these orders. And again, the asset-based loan structure, again, there are revolving lines of credit supported by a borrowing-based certificate, which measures the collateral position, normally the accounts receivable and inventory of the loan. And again, the ABL loans are typically committed to 12 months, but it can be renewed or reissued annually up to 60 months. And again, the lender has to obtain updated financial statements on you annually and perform a full credit analysis annually, coinciding with any renewal period. And again, the advance rates against the asset-based loan for US-based inventory is 60%. For overseas inventory, it's 0 because the bank can't perfect a security interest in the goods. And then we have advance rates against both domestic and foreign accounts receivable. And so if they're unsecured open account, under domestic, they can advance up to 85% and up to 90% for domestic accounts receivable that are supported by letters of credit, credit insurance, or if it's a prime federal contract and it's assigned, the contract's assigned the payment proceeds to the lender. And for the foreign accounts receivable, it's 70% if unsecured, with up to limited to 15% of the total WCP loan amount, but we can waive that requirement. And we can advance up to 90% if it's secured open account by irrevocable letters of credit or credit insurance provided by EXIM Bank or a major private credit insurer, and the lender is listed as a loss payee. And again, here's an example. I'm not going to read through the numbers, but basically this demonstrates the collateral position in gray, where a company has $2 million in collateral base, meaning inventory and receivables. And the blue area is what a bank would typically advance against it. So for that $2 million of collateral, a bank conventionally would probably advance $975,000. With the benefit of this SBA WCP loan, they can advance up to $1.405 million. So again, that allows a business to tap into their illiquid assets, those inventory and receivables to borrow against to be able to finance orders. And again, so that's a brief overview of the WCP. Now I'm going to speak very briefly about the working capital, or I'm sorry, our export loan and grant programs. And again, we're looking for similar things for the exporter profile, but again, we're looking for people with export sales experience. And again, the unique thing about SBA is how we define exporting, which allows us a lot freer our ability to support more types of transactions. So again, our definition of an export transaction is the production and payment associated with the sales of goods and services to a foreign buyer. Again, eligible transactions include domestic to foreign exports, foreign to foreign exports, and indirect exports. And again, we have no U.S. content requirements. The STEP program does, but our loan programs do not. So a domestic foreign transaction is where the borrower sells to a foreign buyer and the goods leave a United States port of export. Again, this definition can also include digital services and other intangible transactions in which no physical goods are being shipped. So again, the modern world where people selling things over, doing software and shipping content over the internet. We can also support foreign to foreign shipments. And this is a case where the borrower sells to a foreign buyer, but the goods don't leave the United States port of export. So in this case, a foreign to foreign shipments, again, we can do post-shipment financing, but not pre-shipment financing because the inventory is ineligible. An example would be is I have a paper company in the southeast part of the United States. They make 95% of their paper products. 5% of their products are made in Turkey. They had a sale going to China. So we could do post-shipment financing of a shipment of the paper going from Turkey to China. So we can support that, as well as we can support indirect exporting. Again, this is where the borrower's direct customer is located in the U.S., but they will ultimately be exporting the items and services to be purchased by a foreign buyer. So again, an example of this in our marketplace here, where Mitsu and I are, is Boeing. We're in Boeing's backyard. So suppliers who provide goods or services to Boeing that are incorporated into their airplanes, 72% of which are sold overseas, can be supported, qualify for export loans as an indirect exporter. So again, when we look at this, we can support the sales of goods to a direct exporter, an indirect exporter. The buyer could be a foreign buyer, it could be a U.S. exporter of record, like a Boeing. You could, the location of the buyer, the buyer could be located in a foreign market or a domestic market. One of the interesting things that we can support is we can support tourism. So if a company, for example, is catering a business, like say they have a tasting room for, distillery or something like that, you could actually use SBA export loan financing to help finance that. The one things we can't support for financing for tourism is lodging as well as gas stations. But again, we can use SBA's general programs. And again, this is an overview of all the program uses for all our export loan and grant programs in general. And there's our 4 export loan, actually 3 export loan and 1 grant programs down at the bottom. The Export Express is our loan that goes up to $500,000. It could be used for both a line of credit or a term loan. And there's the purposes on the right for the term loan, on the left, the lines of credit. And again, one of the things that we require of a business is that they have to fill out an export questionnaire, which asks the basic information that would normally be incorporated into an export plan. And for the use of this loan program, it can be used up to 30% for domestic purposes and a minimum of 70% for export purposes. So again, you can use it for both. If they need more domestic, they can always look at our conventional SBA Express as well. Again, our international trade loan, which is our premier term loan with a maximum amount of up to $5 million and a maximum loan term up to 25 years. Again, this on the right-hand side shows what it covers. So again, it's that fixed assets, permanent working capital, debt refinancing, and business acquisition. And again, for a business to qualify in this case, they need to submit an export business plan to qualify for the international trade loan. There's no minimum export sales requirements to qualify for an international trade loan. However, if a borrower is a new to export business, they need to project what their export sales would be. And they'd largely probably use the Small Business Development Center there to help with this process with the business plan and the projections. And again, if it's an established exporter, they need to demonstrate that they have an increase in export sales. We approved a loan where the borrower went from increasing their exports from 1% to 2%, and they still qualified for SBA support. And then our last program is our Export Working Capital Program, which again is that line of credit for up to $5 million with a maximum loan term of 36 months. And again, this program can only be used for export sales. And again, it still offers a transaction-based loan structure and that asset-based loan structure with slightly higher advance rates. So again, the advance rates against a transaction-based are the lesser of 100% of the direct cost or 90% of the invoice amount, or under the asset-based loan structure, 90% on the foreign accounts receivable and 75% on the eligible export inventory, similar to what Mitsu is going to speak about with EXIM Bank's Working Capital Guarantee Program. And again, it's a STEP grant. Jamie already spoke about. Again, it largely supports that export market development and e-commerce development purposes. But that being said, if the STEP grant isn't enough funding available to you for these purposes, you can use the SBA Export Express loan as a loan program to support those same kinds of needs. So again, if you need more than what the HiSTEP's willing to grant you, because they have a limited pool of money, you can look to those loan programs as well. And again, you know about the STEP program. There's the link that Mary's going to have on her slides. And again, I can open up to questions, but again, I just want to share with you guys that we have 2 training sessions coming up that we do nationally. We do a training for lenders coming up this month on financing your export clients. We also offer one to businesses, which will happen on May 22nd, where you can grow your sales through trade. I've also included some resources from both the SBA and the International Trade Administration, ebooks and videos that can help you with the questions. And there's my contact information, as well as links to the Made in Manufacturing Initiative, Made in America Manufacturing Initiative, as well as our SBA Working Capital Pilot Program. And I also wanted to include the contact information for Mary Dale with her role as the District International Trade Officer, and Mel Ricadio with her role as Lender Relations Specialist. And that's it for me. So I ran a little bit long, but I do apologize.
No, wonderful, John. It was fantastic information. Thank you very much for the presentation, and thanks for including the contact information. And as a reminder, this presentation, as all the others, will be in the shared Dropbox folder that I will send around. So attendees,
Rob, can I
please
ask a
don't.
quick question?
Yep.
I've got product flyers. Do you want me to send you product flyers and you could put them in the Dropbox as well for the loan program?
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So what I have a quick question. What do you suggest if a small Hawaii company today, well, it's too late today, tomorrow they wake up and they decide they'd like to take advantage of this? Who do they call? How do we move forward?
Well, certainly, obviously, if they want to call the local Hawaii district office, that's certainly a way to go. They can certainly reach out to me. Believe it or not, if you call me on Hawaii time, I've got my cell phone with me. That I essentially have a mobile office wherever I am. I'm always on beck and call, so I typically respond back same day, if not the next day. So oftentimes they could speak to their lender first, but very often since there may be fewer banks in Hawaii that work with our programs, Mel and I spend our time training lenders on the programs and getting them engaged with the programs, so we can work with both the business and the lender at the same time. So again, we're trying to close the loop. And oftentimes the joke I make is I'm like the ring boy who's walking the bride and groom down the aisle so they get married. So again, the marriage obviously would be that loan. So I kind of look at it as that analogy. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. With that, I'm going to just very quickly share the website of the Export-Import Bank of the United States, often just referred to as EXIM. And with that, our next speaker is Mitsu Saito. He's a regional director, also based in Seattle. and Hawaii is part of his territory. Personally, I've used the EXIM export credit insurance many times in my career, and I think it's invaluable. I think that a lot of our Hawaii companies should use it more, but that they've maybe not heard of it. And so, Mitsu, I hope that you can shed some light on EXIM activities and tell us more about the Export-Import Bank of the United States. So with that, I'll stop sharing and turn it over to Mitsu Saito.
Oh, thank you for the introduction, Rob, and I appreciate Hawaii PAC Council for having us today. It's a very pleasure to be here, and once again, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Mitsu Saito. I'm a regional director with the Export-Import Bank of the United States. We like to call ourselves EXIM or EXIM Bank. I'm based in Seattle as a part of the regional offices within the Office of Small Business. I manage business development at EXIM for Alaska, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming, while representing the bank in my covered territories. For those of you that don't know EXIM Bank, we are the official export credit agency, or ECA, of the US government. Every country has their own version of ECAs as they support their exporters by offering government trade finance programs or ECA financing. EXIM is a 91-year-old government agency that was established in 1934 to help US companies during the Great Depression as a sunset agency. EXIM must be periodically renewed by Congress every few years. EXIM has 9 regional offices throughout the United States. Our regional offices support is based on where the US exporters' headquarters are located at. Our mission is to support American job creation by providing businesses access to trade financing. When the private sector is unable or unwilling to provide financing, EXIM fills the gap for American businesses by offering trade financing they need to secure export sales. EXIM is often known as an independent, self-sustaining agency or negative subsidy agency, meaning that we make money. For example, during fiscal year 2024, EXIM has returned $80 million to the US Treasury and American taxpayers for deficit reduction. When deciding to export, business owners consider several things, including does export align with company's growth strategy? Do we understand what it takes to export profitably? And maybe most importantly, how can I get paid? How can I access the working capital? How can I finance my customer? EXIM can address all of these challenges by offering pre- and post-export financing solutions. So this slide is a continuation from the previous slide. EXIM addresses lender and exporter challenges with pre-export and post-export support. John used the phrase pre-shipment, but pretty much the same thing. And we have 4 main solutions to the challenges mentioned earlier. And most utilized program is export credit insurance. We have both short-term and medium and long-term insurance available. Basically, this is a insurance to protect you from buyer non-payment, or we like to call it invoice insurance. And going down to the working capital loan guarantee program, this is almost a mirror image to SBA's working capital program, very similar, with minor differences between the 2 programs. And we can also set up financing for your overseas customer directly. this is going to be a medium and long-term loan guarantee program, something similar to auto dealership offering their financing to finance customer directly, something very similar, but we have one available to support purchase of a US-made capital equipment. And lastly, we do have a direct loan program. This is a very rarely used for the international transaction, but we now have a new domestic financing program, which I will go over in my next slide. But this one, as of today, we're making a direct loan. Almost close to 3 years ago, EXIM has launched a Make More in America initiative, MMIA, to support export-oriented domestic manufacturing project. MMIA financing is designed to help revitalize American manufacturing, improve the resiliency of critical supply chains, and to support US jobs. It enables us to support the full life cycle of an export for the first time. Transaction eligibility will be determined by the export nexus, the percentage of production or shipment tied to exports. 15% for transactions by small business in transformational sectors or climate related, and 25% for transactions in other sectors. Firms that supply domestic exporters also may be eligible if they meet the nexus. So the program could potentially eligible for indirect exporters, John mentioned earlier. If your customer, you may not be exporting directly, but your customer is exporting by using your product, you may be potentially also qualify for this program. Financing scaled based on a number of US jobs supported during construction and the financing lifetime. MMIA allows for longer tenor, term loans for capital investment, building new factories, purchasing equipment, and other expenses related to manufacturing capacity. And now moving on to working capital loan guarantee program. John did a great job describing SBA's working capital loan guarantee program, and EXIM's program is very much the same, almost a mirror image of their program. So I'd like to highlight a few different differences between these two programs. As John mentioned, SBA's program phase out at $5 million. But with EXIM, we don't have a minimum or maximum that we can support. So sometimes we see that lenders actually utilize two programs. Both SBA and EXIM programs, depends on how they wanted to structure your transaction. They utilize both of our programs. Or sometimes exporters start out of SBA programs and they grow out of it and then move on to EXIM to seek for more larger loan amount. So it's really depend on your lenders to decide how they wanted to structure between the two programs or using both of our programs. So for loans not meeting the EXIM criteria, John briefly mentioned earlier about our US content requirement and some others. And if you're looking for smaller financing needs, EXIM often encourages companies to contact the SBA. And I'd like to also add that companies that also have both EXIM export credit insurance and SBA's working capital loan guarantee program can get a 25% premium discount on our credit insurance, which I will talk about in next slides. And this is an example of a borrowing base, very similar example that John mentioned earlier. So I won't spend too much time on this, but as you can see, with $2 million of export-related assets, between lenders utilizing SBA or EXIM programs, and they're not using any of government loan guarantee programs. Potential borrowing base will be very different from between the two. So you can see $2 million bankable asset could potentially advance up to close to $1.7 million utilizing EXIM or SBA programs, but without government guarantee, they may only advance up to slightly less than $1 million. So lenders like government guarantees, so they feel comfortable lending monies to exporters utilizing previously off the book bankable asset, turning into similar to domestic accounts, domestic bankable assets. Here at EXIM, Export Credit Insurance, or ECI, is the most popular trade finance solution to help American businesses manage their payment risk. So what is Export Credit Insurance? It is an insurance policy to protect against the risk of an international customer defaulting on a payment obligation. It works as a risk mitigation tool or sleep insurance. We hope you use it as a sales and marketing tool to expand into new markets, because you can be more competitive with open credit terms, such as net 30, 60, 90 days, or could be more, could be longer. It will potentially expand more borrowing base because when insured by the government, which is backed by the full faith and credit of the United States, your international account receivables will be treated like domestic account receivables, kind of what I mentioned earlier, after assigning the policy to your commercial lender or non-bank lender, which accelerate your export-related cash flow. So your insurance policy could potentially assign to your lender to include it in your borrowing base. So it works as a financing tool before seeking working capital through your lenders. I like to point it out that this is not a tool to make bad credit good or use it as a primary source of repayment. So what is covered? EXIM's policy cover both commercial risk and political risk at up to 95% coverage against non-payment. Commercial risk is the possibility of a protracted default, which is a non-payment by a buyer who is not insolvent, but has been delinquent for an extended period, or basically chronic slow pay, or the buyer being unable to pay due to insolvency or bankruptcy. Political risk is the possibility that action by a foreign government will prevent an exporter from receiving payment and or recovering goods. These could include war, insurrection, cancellation of licenses, or inconvertibility of currency. So sometimes foreign central banks, they will limit circulation of hard currencies like US dollars when their currency reserves are low. And commercial banks may not be able to process your customers' transfer requests to send money to your bank account. So we'll cover that in part of a political risk. Please note that disputes with the buyer and contract repudiations are not covered. So if your customer asks you to ship green and you ship yellow, we ask between the seller and buyer to resolve that. We just don't have resources to determine who's right and wrong. And contract repudiation, when your customer places an order, you received it, and you start preparing for export order. And right before exporting, right before shipping, your customer canceled the order on you. That we don't cover on a commercial side. So these two are the exception to our coverage. Eligibility criteria. These are policies that impact EXIM transaction, but there are 4 policies apply most often. Being in business for at least a year, have at least one person working in the firm full-time, positive net worth, export products and or services that have more than 51% U.S. content, excuse me, based on direct and indirect cost. For example, labor, materials, and administrative costs, but no markup. I wanted to touch on this before closing. Your buyer's country is also an important consideration. Support for buyers in a specific country can be found in a country limitation schedule, or CLS, a document which indicates whether full, limited, or no EXIM support is provided for private and public sector type buyers in each country. Both EXIM and SBA utilize the CLS to verify if an exporter can ship to a particular country and to determine if there are any restrictions on exporting. Even if you don't work with EXIM, you can still use the CLS to assess country risks to help you make a credit decision, as this information is available to the public. Based on the CLS, you can be more liberal or more conservative on your credit decision. If the US government is not open or conditionally open for certain countries, you probably don't want it to extend credit at all. To recap, call us if you face any of these situations. You will have our full attention. Here is my contact. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We look forward to discussing your export journey soon. Thank you. Mahalo.
That was an excellent presentation. Thanks very much, Mitsu. As I said earlier, I use often the export credit insurance, and I think it's just a fabulous product
Thank you.
that you offer. And I would encourage our Hawaii companies to use it more often. It's a really wonderful protection. Even if you know your buyers very well, there's lots of things that can happen, and it's still great to have the backing of US government insurance behind you when you're going out into foreign markets. So
Absolutely.
there are no further questions, and we're running up right against our allotted time. So with that, I'm going to say mahalo to our guests, Jamie Lum from DBEDT, Mary Dale from SBA in Honolulu, John Brislin from SBA in Seattle, and Mitsu Saito, who we just heard from at EXIM Bank in Seattle also. As a reminder, I will download this video from Zoom and do some minor editing and upload it to our YouTube archive. When that is done, I will send an email around to all the attendees with a link to that video, as well as a link to the Dropbox folder that contains all of the presentations you saw today. That'll take about a couple of days to get that done. So thanks again, everyone. Mahalo for joining. Look for an upcoming event on how to use the U.S. Commercial Service and American Chambers of Commerce around the world for exporting. That's on May 29th. So check the DBEDT website at invest.hawaii.gov and register for that. Always free of charge event. And thank you, everyone. Mahalo. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.